What if time travelers wrote the myths? Picture a fisherman in the Aegean Sea. 3,000 years ago. The sky tears open. A figure in strange armor steps out, glowing rods in his hands. And in minutes, the storm calms. The sea goes glass smooth. The fisherman drops to his knees, convinced he's seen a god. Centuries later, that story becomes a myth. But what if it wasn't a god at all? What if it was a time traveler? Think about the peculiar shape of myths. So many of them aren't timeless morality. Telestere, oddly specific. Flying chariots with fire trailing behind. Weapons that thunder louder than storms. Beings who appear suddenly, teach farming or astronomy, then vanish just as suddenly. What if those weren't symbols, but reports? People describing visitors with technology far ahead of their time. Time travel, as physics toys with it, isn't completely ruled out. Wormholes, closed time light curves, bending spacetime with energy it's fringe science. Sure, but not impossible. If one day humanity cracks the code, who's to say we don't send emissaries backward? And if we did? How would ancient people interpret us? They'd call us gods, angels, or demons, and when they tried to remember what they saw, it would turn into myth. Consider Prometheus. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans. Fire as in literal flame or fire as in knowledge, technology. Maybe he was a time traveler, slipping humanity a spark from the future. His punishment bound to a rock for eternity could be metaphor for someone trapped outside his own time, never allowed to return. Or take the Hindu epics. The Mahabharata describes flying craft Vimanis that roar like thunder and fire weapons brighter than 1,000 suns. Sounds an awful lot like jets and nukes. Did ancient poets dream those details or record events staged by travelers carrying 20th century toys? Even Norse mythology fits. Odin wandering the world, one-eyed cloaked in riddles, dropping bits of wisdom on chosen warriors. The picture of a meddler with knowledge to advance for the age like a historian sampling his own timeline, nudging key players. Here's the unsettling thought. Myths don't just explain the past, they may be stories planted intentionally, so that when we advanced far enough, we'd recognize them, like postcards from ourselves, written in symbols our ancestors could grasp. Zeus's thunderbolts, Thor's hammer, Hermes' winged sandals stand-ins for devices they couldn't describe any other way. And maybe that explains why so many myths carry warnings. Floods sent to punish pride. Towers toppled when men reached too high. Pandora's box unleashing chaos when opened. What if those weren't divine lessons, but time travelers trying to steer history, planting cautionary tales to keep us from repeating their mistakes? But then comes the paradox. If time travelers shaped myths, then myths shaped history. Because we read them, learned from them, built culture on them. Which means the time travelers might not just be from our future. They might be our future. We're telling ourselves our own origin stories, looping them through the ages. And what about the myths that still haunt us? Stories of the end times apocalypses, revelations, Ragnarok. If those were written by time travelers, are they warnings of things yet to come, or inevitabilities we can't escape? I imagine a traveler standing in a Bronze Age village, surrounded by wide-eyed farmers. He pulls a tablet from his pack, projects a star map onto the dirt. The villagers gasp, thinking he's showing them heaven. He smiles, knowing they'll carve the memory into myth. But centuries later, people will call it the story of gods and constellations. For him, it was a Tuesday. For them, it was the dawn of religion. If that's true, then every myth we tell isn't just a story of gods. It's a diary of visitors out of time, leaving breadcrumbs in the only way the past could understand. And the real question isn't whether they came. It is whether they'll come again. Whether we're already writing the myths our own descendants will read thousands of years from now.